The sad part of the story is that the opposition groups remain cut off from the street, whether they are, especially the Arab opposition groups, it seems. This is not a revolution made by the opposition. So if you don't like the way the opposition is sort of a political traditional opposition is developing, you can rest assured that they are being replaced. This is by the new protest movement on the street. The new leaders of Syria are not going to be necessarily the known opposition figures. The new leaders of Syria are right now unknown individuals who are working on the street and really trying to guide this revolution from day to day. And I think the street and the language you hear in the street is far more inclusive than what you hear from the opposition. The opposition parties in Syria are stuck in their old rhetoric and their old ideologies. And frankly, I agree, they have not been able to rise to the challenge posed by the revolution. And they seem to be, or many of them at least, and they seem to be failing the challenge. They seem to be failing the challenge, very much like Bashar al-Assad. Bashar al-Assad had a golden opportunity in the first week of the revolution to basically acknowledge that there is a change that needs to be made and begin implementing something. And he didn't rise up to the challenge. Opposition parties tried. They tried to adopt the rhetoric, they tried, but whenever they came to have a coalition or to make a statement or to really reach out to the larger spectrum of Syrian people, they've actually shown themselves to be unable to rise beyond their ideologies. And that is the failure of the opposition, but this is not the failure of the revolution. This is not a revolution that was made by the opposition. This is a revolution that was made by the people. So listen to the protesters, and you can judge the future of Syria on the basis of what the protesters are saying. The protesters are saying Arabs and Kurds, Sunni and Alawites, Muslim and Christians are one. We are all one people. And I really believe that and especially having interacted with Syrian protest leaders and having interacted with some of these people, not only online, but during conferences and meetings that we've had in Istanbul, they are far more pragmatic and far more inclusive than the ideological opposition movements. On the other hand, I have to acknowledge that we have to also tell a difference between the different meetings that took place. We had meetings in Brussels, we had meetings in Istanbul, we had meetings in Antalya. The Antalya meeting seems to have emerged so far as a more inclusive and pragmatic coalition. And the statement, the final statement they issued on their vision for change in Syria, the articles in that statement that dealt with the Kurdish questions were very much inclusive, simply because it was authored by the Kurdish participants themselves. We basically in that meeting, which I've attended, we sort of had this gathering and said, what is it that you want to see in Syria? Where do you envision yourself? And they said, this is what we want to hear. And we said, okay, as long as it's within Syria, it's all right. And I think other conferences were too caught up in or organized by people who are mostly still pan-Arabist, they still dream of Arab unity in the old fashion. On the other hand, as a pragmatic group in Antalya, we dream more of a coming together of a diverse region, hopefully, with all its ethnic diversity, with all its religious diversity and linguistic diversity. And I think that kind of pragmatic thinking is what's needed in the region.